ultimately, does this conflict with Iran bring the Middle East and bring the world to a better place?
I think ultimately, no. I think there are some aspects that are positive, such as degrading further Iran's military capacity. Let's understand its nuclear ability was not obliterated, as the administration claimed a few months ago, and they're trying to rebuild right now. But I think those little bombs in New York City a day ago, I think that the homeland attacks could increase, especially now that our Homeland Department has been pretty neutered at the top. But here's what I would say. I say the big winners, and there are only two, and they are Russia and China. We've waived additional sanctions on Russia. I thought we were going to increase them to stop Russia's invasion of Ukraine, but we've waived them, and they're selling oil, making money, and they can perpetuate the war in Ukraine. And China now benefits from the fact that we have repivoted to the Middle East. We have fewer assets in Asia against China. China is building, is not just rebuilding, but building enormous military capacity. And it seems to me has all the moral authority it needs, I hope it doesn't do this, to annex Taiwan, given what we're doing. So who are the losers? The big losers are our president ultimately, I would predict, but in the shorter term, the United States Congress, which is sitting by and doing nothing. The Senate punted on the vote last week to invoke the War Powers Act. They didn't even vote on it. And so the president is claiming free reign to do whatever he wants, including charging taxpayers $1 to $2 billion a day to support the effort we have underway. And that effort is leading to the highest gas prices in American history. So if I were the Congress, this is advice to both parties, I'd figure out a way to work together to stop this. And I'd also figure out a way, if you want to win your election, to show that you're doing anything. The president is trampling on the Article 1 branch of our government.
Jane is referring to the improvised explosive that was thrown near Mayor Mamdani's residence. And I just want to mention quickly, the Attorney General Pam Bondi, Jane, just posted on Twitter, we have indicted the two alleged ISIS-inspired terrorists who attempted to bomb a protest in New York. She's got a couple of pictures here. We will not allow ISIS's poisonous anti-American ideology to threaten this nation. And I know that the ongoing threat, whether it's from a cell or a lone wolf, is a very real one. But I'd like to just ask you, with the prospect of a potentially widening war, Jane, and it's great to have you back today, what do you make of not once but twice NATO having to intercept a ballistic missile fired from Iran in Turkish airspace? And in fact, today we saw debris fall in southern Turkey, about 150 miles away from an airbase. Why are these not Article 5 incursions?
They are Article 5 incursions, or they could be. The country that's attacked has to invoke Article 5. And maybe Turkey is holding back. Turkey has a kind of complicated relationship in the Middle East with all these countries, in case you missed it. But maybe they're holding back. But let's see what else happens. There was an explosion in Norway yesterday, and nobody has been able to trace that. That's another new Article 5, new NATO country. So let's see if Iran is provoking Europe. Might be true. But the other piece of this, Joe, is the domestic fallout, domestic USA fallout. Those IEDs in New York might not be a one-off, as you point out. This could be going on in the country, think Washington, D.C., someplace. It's not that hard, unfortunately, to be inspired and then to carry out a terror attack. And that could be our new future in the United States. But meanwhile, soaring gas prices. The markets are unstable. And Congress is sitting on its hands. And let's understand these costs. Congress can't duck voting on the budget. Eventually, Congress will have to vote on the budget. Yes, it can have a broader government shutdown than the one we already have that's causing long TSA lines. But if Congress can't find a way out of this, I don't know what the justification is to anyone, for anyone, to be there. And yes, there are some well-motivated people in both parties in Congress. Seems like more in the minority party, but a lot more at the moment. But what would I like to see? I would like to see a functioning Congress that holds the president across the board in check for this completely unprovoked war of choice, which is hugely dangerous and which was I guess inspired to some extent by his a friendship with Bibi Netanyahu, but even Israel, my view, is now seems to have free license to bomb the refineries in Iran and to be doing a huge amount of bombing along the southern coast of Lebanon to prevent Hezbollah from ever coming back. It seems to me there were better options that we could have taken, and sadly we missed the movie.
Well, as you talk about all the different bombs that are dropping, Jane, the munitions that we are expending, you, of course, used to lead the Commission on the National Defense Strategy. So I'm wondering, after this conflict is over, whenever that may be, what kind of strategic disadvantage we may be in having expended all of this, knowing the defense industrial base is only capable of producing so much so quickly in order to restock?
Well, great question. And to be fair, our commission recommended increased defense spending. We talked about the broken defense industrial base, the DIB, and ways to regenerate. We talked about the fact that the business model of the tech sector is much more efficient than the business model of the Pentagon, and urged that there be more synergy there. But we also urged, by the way, that we use all elements of national power, not just hard assets, but also all the things Trump has dismantled. Sadly, this administration has dismantled our soft power, our development, our State Department. The State Department is a shadow of its former self, our use of partners and allies. And it's interesting to see, it will be interesting to see what partners and allies the U.S. has if and when this Iran adventure ends. Again, let me say, it is important to degrade Iran's military capacity. The shock and awe of our military is impressive. It is tragic that we've lost 7 lives so far, and we may lose more if the president is able, as he says he wants to protect the traffic through the Straits of Hormuz, which is blocking 20% of the region's oil exports to the world. But I just call on Congress, get it together, act. Invoke the War Powers Act, put strict limits on what goes on after this, and surely get a handle on the costs and make clear that the American people have to be supporting this in order for our president to go forward.